Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Jindal Digest for Competition and Innovation Laws. This is our introductory episode on a larger series on antitrust and big technology. Today we have with us Professor Pankaj Khandelwal. She has completed her undergraduate from NLIU Bhopal and having completed her master's from London School of Economics, has researched extensively on the intersection between antitrust and digital markets. Thank you, Professor, for taking out the time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much for having me over.
If you don't mind, we can start off by setting some context to both this episode and the series in general. Professor, could you tell us, what big technology is and why its intersection with antitrust is such a concern for most antitrust and competition watchdogs around the globe today?
Right. So, big tech basically, when we talk about big tech in today's context, it basically refers to the four main companies, which is your Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. And why we call them big tech is because most of their business is basically relied on collecting data and using that data to provide their services. And why we call them big tech is because they are basically becoming so dominant in their own sectors that there's no sort of scope for other players to enter the market, and therefore therefore that's where competition law sort of jumps in with these concerns, because now they've become so dominant that basically the intervention of competition law, earlier it was sort of thought out whether the competition law should be intervening in this market or should we leave it, because earlier we thought that these markets are basically very dynamic because you have entry of new players, there are enough competitors. But as we've progressed into the digital economy, we see that these incumbents, it's becoming increasingly more difficult for other companies or for other competitors to form another business, because these incumbents have become so stronger in their own particular domain that it has now become very difficult to replace them in any of the relevant markets. And so that is why we have so many competition authorities talking about why we need to sort of see what these big tech companies are doing, and should we break them up, should we give some more behavioral remedies to sort of monitor their behavior in these relevant markets. So yeah, in a nutshell, that is what big tech is. It's basically companies relying on big data to provide their services.
Right. So would you consider GAFA, which is Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple, to have formed a sort of oligopoly in different relevant markets? And if so, how do you think it affects the market competitive dynamics?
Yeah, so I think you can call them as, and a lot of competition law scholars have sort of said that these four companies together form a oligopoly sort of scenario in the market, which basically means that they sort of control the internet. They have become gatekeepers, which is why we only have these 3-4 companies which control the entire sort of ecosystem of the internet. And they do have this oligopoly sort of structure. But again, the problem that comes is because competition law sort of, for seeing any sort of abuse or for seeing any sort of anti-competitive practice, they define relevant markets. And you can say that these are oligopoly in, say, the data market or in, say, the advertisement market. But when it comes to different sectors, and this is something that we are struggling with right now, because competition law defines market a bit narrowly than the entire internet or the entire ecosystem, which is why they have not been recognized as each other's competitors or as each other's sort of forming this oligopolistic structure. But if we see it in a broader context, it's quite clear that they actually control most of the things that we see online, or most of the businesses that we see online, or it is done through their sister companies, or they have certain acquisitions in these companies, which is why there is now a lot of literature on why we can consider them as forming an oligopoly in the market.
Now, there's some argument now which is being made about how the four companies essentially compete on some level with each other. And you have at least two companies intersecting in different relevant markets. For example, you have both Google Home and Amazon Alexa. And this argument goes on to state that because you have two big companies which have such large resources, and they spend so much on research and innovation, it actually leads to innovation in the market and thereby benefiting consumers and increasing consumer convenience. So, would you not then say that it is good for these four companies to compete with each other and form the dynamic that they have today?
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? That we think that they're competing with each other, and maybe in some relevant markets we can say that they do have like some sort of competitive conference from each other when it comes to advertising, or say when it comes to digital assistance. But if you see broadly, all of these companies have their own sectors in which they're dominating, right? So if you see social media, we have Facebook, which controls most of the social media. Even if Google, with its Google Plus, tries to sort of come into the social media market, they sort of saw that they cannot, again, the whole sort of theory of there being an incumbent player and they having enough data to regulate that whole ecosystem comes into play. And so even these big companies cannot then enter into this market, right? So that is why we see that Google is not entering into the social media market, or Amazon or Apple, they are not entering into these social media markets because they know that they cannot compete with Facebook and the amount of data that it possesses in this market. Similarly, you will see that Facebook would not go into, say, the maps market, right? Because they know that Google Maps has enough data and they have enough. So it's not that these companies are not innovating, right? They are innovating because they know that the moment they stop innovating, there will be a threat to their position. So I don't think innovation is a problem, but what is a problem here is that there's not enough competition. It's basically that particular company dictating the entire market and seeing how the market functions, right? And which is why we may say that there's innovation, but then, as you will talk, I think, in the next segment, we do not consider non-price parameters, which is your quality or the service that you're providing or the privacy factors, right? Similarly, when it comes to Amazon, none of these big tech companies, other big tech companies, are entering into the online sort of e-commerce market. We have Facebook Marketplace, we have Google also selling things on their, or say, the Google search engine, but we do not have any sort of any of these companies entering into that main sort of e-commerce sector because they know that they cannot sort of compete with Amazon, right? So I think it's wrong to sort of assume that they have competitive constraints in their relevant sectors. They are innovating, but again, it's just basically that particular company, and there's no sort of long-term competition that they face, which is why they can dictate the terms of the market. Which is why, if they are not concentrating on privacy, that is fine because nobody's asking them to. There's no sort of pressure for them to actually look into the privacy aspects till the time that they're providing, say, products which are sort of good. And there's no way to actually know whether the products that they're providing have reached that level of innovation, right? Because there's no other competitor. So in a lot of markets, you might see that they're actually more efficient competitors, but because they do not have enough data, and again, because these markets are regulated by data, and so because they do not have enough data, they cannot enter these markets and they cannot sort of, replace these competitors in any way because there's this one entity which is dominating the entire market. So I think that's why it's wrong to say that they are facing any competitive constraints. Even when we talk about digital assistants, we will see that Amazon's Alexa is actually sort of way ahead in the market than any other digital assistants, and that's again because Amazon has so much more relevant data than all of these other entities. So I think that's why it would be wrong to sort of assume that there are competitive constraints. Maybe in the advertising market, they might be facing some constraints, but even then they have enough sort of data and enough sort of companies who are relying on these. Because of these being gatekeepers, there are enough companies who are relying on these for advertisements, and therefore it's not really the kind of competitive pressure that you would expect even in that particular relevant market. So I don't think that they're actually facing any competitive constraints from each other.
Right, and I think barriers to entry and their dominance have been flagged by major antitrust and competition watchdogs around the country, especially with congressional hearings in the United States. We have the EU Commission that's also looking at it. In your very general opinion, what do you think would be a long-term solution to the big tech problem that we have today? I mean, would you go towards the breaking up of these big technology companies, which is what the United States is looking at, or do you think there's another more feasible solution?
Right. So I think breaking up big tech companies can also create problems because as we see, Google is basically being able to innovate, say Google Maps, because they have so much of data, and that's why they are being able to create this product, which is efficient, right? So breaking up might actually lead to degradation of quality, which is why we need to be very careful about which companies we want to break up and what is the reason behind breaking up. So I don't think that can serve as an efficient remedy in all cases. Especially say even for Facebook. I think for Facebook maybe yes, because and this is I think coming after we have allowed Facebook's integration with Instagram and WhatsApp, and we're seeing that they're actually not sort of following the privacy guidelines that they're required to follow. But I think it's still not a very efficient remedy because breaking up would also lead to a lot of consequences in the market, which need to be thought about. So I think if you break up these big tech companies, it might happen that they're not able to provide the services as efficiently as they were, which would again not be a proper remedy from the consumer welfare standard perspective. So I don't think that breaking up big tech could be seen as a remedy. Uh, in some cases, maybe yes, but not in all cases. I think what needs to be done is to give is more of an ex ante regulation, where we sort of provide these companies the guidelines as to how they can operate and what they're supposed to be, what are the standards for them to operate. So basically, they also know what they're required to sort of comply with and what they can take a bit of a leeway with, right? So I think ex ante regulation has been quite talked about by a lot of scholars as well for digital gatekeepers, and we have new laws coming in EU, we have new laws coming in a lot of other countries which talk about how we can regulate these gatekeepers, how we can tell them what they're required to sort of what they can and cannot do in the market. So I think that is an efficient remedy that can be again, but there's a lot that we need to sort of think about even for that because how do we regulate them? How do we monitor them? How do we see what guidelines need to be set so that it operates on each of these gatekeepers is something that still requires a lot of debate and discussion.
Right. Thank you, Professor.